Griffith, the architect of his own apocalypse. Griffith from Berserk is what happens when ambition stops recognizing human limits. He starts as a tactical prodigy who builds the Band of the Hawk into a dominant military force through discipline and precision. Unlike most commanders, Griffith doesn't fight for honor or survival. He fights for ownership. His goal is explicit, a kingdom that belongs to him alone. Every alliance, every victory, every smile is calculated toward that endpoint. Griffith's worldview is simple. People either possess great dreams, or they exist to support someone else's. His soldiers aren't comrades, they're resources. The destabilizing event is Guts leaving. Guts isn't just his strongest fighter, he's the only person Griffith unconsciously treats as a peer. Losing that connection triggers a psychological collapse. Griffith responds by sneaking into the royal castle and sleeping with Princess Charlotte, a reckless attempt to regain control through proximity to power. Instead, he's arrested. He spends a year imprisoned and tortured. By the time he's rescued, his body is destroyed beyond recovery. His hands can't hold a sword. His voice is barely functional. His dream is physically unattainable. That's when the Crimson Behelit activates. The artifact pulls him into the Eclipse, where the God Hand present a final offer, transcend humanity, and reclaim his destiny by sacrificing the Band of the Hawk. Every soldier who trusted him becomes the payment. Griffith agrees immediately. His army is branded and slaughtered. He is reborn as Femto, ascending into demonhood. Later, he returns to the world as a messianic figure and establishes Falconia, the last major human stronghold. His ambition finally succeeds. It just requires a mass extermination and spiritual bankruptcy as startup costs. Anton Chigurh, the man who thinks he's fate. Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men does not view himself as evil. He views himself as consistent. He enters the story as a hired killer tasked with recovering a briefcase of drug money after a deal collapses. The assignment is simple. His methods are not. Chigurh operates with mechanical precision, eliminating anyone connected to the money. Witnesses, employers, bystanders. Not out of anger, not out of greed, out of principle. His defining trait is his philosophy of inevitability. Chigurh believes outcomes are determined long before people realize they are involved. To dramatize this belief, he flips a coin to decide whether certain victims live or die. He frames it as fairness. The coin has traveled decades to reach this moment, he argues. Calling it is merely acknowledging destiny. Refuse to call it, and you die anyway. Unlike impulsive killers, Chigurh is patient. He tracks Llewellyn Moss across Texas without emotional fluctuation. When Moss is killed by others before their final confrontation, Chigurh doesn't react. The mission adjusts. Fate continues. He survives injuries that should slow him down, including a violent car crash, and simply disappears. No arrest, no closure, no moral lesson. Chigurh's terror comes from his detachment. He does not hate his victims. He does not enjoy their fear. He removes choice from the equation and replaces it with inevitability. To him, murder is not chaos. It's accounting. Judge Holden, the philosopher of mass murder. Judge Holden from Blood Meridian isn't just violent. He's ideological about it. He appears alongside the Glanton Gang, a group of scalp hunters roaming the lawless borderlands of the American West. Physically, he's massive, bald, pale, hairless, and unsettlingly calm. Intellectually, he's worse. Holden speaks multiple languages, lectures on geology and law, sketches plants and artifacts, and carries encyclopedic knowledge of nearly everything he encounters. He also believes that war is the natural state of existence. To Holden, conflict isn't a tragedy. It's proof of reality. He argues that anything which exists without his knowledge exists without his consent, meaning the world itself must be catalogued, dominated, and erased if necessary. People are not individuals. They are material. While riding with the gang, Holden doesn't just participate in massacres. He ritualizes them. He teaches the men to view brutality as art. Violence becomes ceremony. Murder becomes philosophy. He commits acts so extreme they're often left implied, because describing them directly would get this video quietly escorted off YouTube. The truly uncomfortable part is that Holden appears immortal. He never ages. He displays inhuman strength. Decades later, he encounters the novel's protagonist again, and drags him into a final, ambiguous confrontation that likely ends in death. Immediately afterward, Holden dances naked in a saloon, declaring that he will never die. Judge Holden represents something worse than evil. He represents a universe where violence is intelligent, self-aware, and very pleased with itself. Johann Liebert, the villain who never pulls the trigger. Johann Liebert from Monster doesn't kill people directly most of the time. He convinces them to do it themselves. Johann looks completely ordinary, polite, soft-spoken, well-dressed. No scars, no intimidating presence, which is exactly why he works. His entire method is psychological infiltration. He enters someone's life quietly, identifies their emotional weak points, and applies pressure until they collapse. His origin traces back to a secret East German experiment called 511 Kinderheim, an orphanage designed to erase children's identities and rebuild them into obedient citizens. The program doesn't create loyal subjects, it creates monsters. Johann learns how fragile human identity really is. He watches children turn on each other. He studies fear, abandonment, and guilt like academic subjects. By the time he escapes, he's perfected a single skill, making people destroy themselves. Years later, he resurfaces after being saved as a child by Dr. Kenzo Tenma. Johan repays that mercy by embarking on a continent-wide manipulation campaign. He convinces ordinary people to commit murder, suicide, and mass violence, using nothing but conversation. No threats, no force, just carefully chosen words. He dismantles criminal organizations from the inside. He engineers massacres without being present. He orchestrates entire tragedies while standing several layers removed, like a project manager for despair. Johan's ultimate goal isn't power or survival. He wants to erase himself. He attempts to stage the perfect suicide by manipulating someone else into killing him, proving that identity is meaningless and morality is optional. He even selects a replacement child to inherit his name, ensuring the cycle continues. Johan doesn't seek chaos. He seeks emptiness. Hannibal Lecter, the polite predator. Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs proves that intelligence without empathy is just predation with better grammar. When the story begins, Lecter is already imprisoned for multiple murders involving cannibalism, physically contained. Mentally? Absolutely not. His real weapon isn't a knife, it's conversation. He studies people the way most of us skim menus, quickly and with clear preferences. The FBI sends trainee Clarice Starling to interview him, hoping he'll provide insight into another serial killer, Buffalo Bill. Lecter agrees to help, but only through psychological barter. For every clue he gives, he demands something personal from Clarice. Childhood trauma, buried fears, emotional vulnerabilities. He isn't just assisting an investigation, he's dissecting her. What makes Lecter dangerous is control. Even behind reinforced glass, he dictates the rhythm of every exchange. He never raises his voice, he never appears rushed. He simply waits for others to underestimate him. Eventually, he escapes custody, not through brute force alone, but through planning layered with theatrical cruelty. He kills guards, stages a grotesque misdirection, and uses a dead officer's face as a disguise. It's horrifying, and disturbingly meticulous. Some villains burn cities down. Lecter rearranges the furniture and leaves a thank you note. Lecter doesn't kill out of chaos or ideology. He kills because he enjoys refinement. To him, murder is a curated experience. His victims are not enemies, they're courses. The Joker. Chaos, with a marketing budget. The Joker from The Dark Knight isn't trying to take over Gotham. He's running a psychological stress test on humanity. Unlike most villains, Joker has no endgame involving thrones, armies, or dramatic speeches about destiny. His entire philosophy is built around one idea. Morality is fragile, and all it takes is one bad day, or one exploding hospital to prove it. He enters Gotham as an unknown criminal wildcard, and immediately starts dismantling organized crime. Not to replace it. Just to show that structure is optional. He burns mob money, kills his own allies, and rewrites every rule mid-scene. Even other criminals can't predict him, which is impressive considering they already operate in a city where people dress like bats. Joker doesn't rely on strength. He relies on situations. He puts civilians on ferries with detonators and asks them to vote on who deserves to die. He forces Harvey Dent into becoming Two-Face by engineering a personal tragedy with surgical precision. He doesn't corrupt people through persuasion. He traps them inside moral dilemmas with countdown timers. His real target is Batman. Joker wants to prove that even Gotham's symbol of justice can break. He escalates crime specifically to force Batman into impossible choices, testing how far heroism can bend before snapping. Every scheme is designed to remove control, strip certainty, and expose fear. He doesn't want Batman dead. He wants him compromised. Joker's genius is that he doesn't care if he wins. As long as someone loses their principles, he considers it a successful day at work. He isn't chaos. He's a social experiment with face paint. Homelander, Superman, if HR never existed. Homelander from The Boys is what happens when you give absolute power to a toddler and then teach him branding. Publicly, he's America's golden hero. Flag cape, perfect smile. Inspirational speeches delivered like he's auditioning for a cereal commercial. Privately, he's a narcissistic sociopath who treats human beings like background props in his personal biopic. Homelander was raised in a lab by Vought, deprived of real parents, real affection, and real consequences. Instead of learning empathy, he learned metrics, approval ratings, focus groups, crowd reactions. His entire identity is built around being adored, which is a fragile emotional foundation for someone who can laser cities. He doesn't protect people because it's right. He protects people because cameras are on. Anyone who threatens his image becomes expendable. Teammates who disappoint him get accidentally murdered. Protesters get stared at until they rethink their life choices. Civilians are collateral damage unless they're useful for PR. He can hear heartbeats from across a room, but somehow still can't detect basic human decency. What makes Homelander terrifying isn't just his strength, it's his insecurity. Every criticism feels like an existential attack. Every loss of control triggers a violent tantrum. He needs constant validation, and when he doesn't get it, people start falling out of windows. His version of patriotism is pure branding. Flags are accessories, speeches are scripts, morality is whatever polls best this week. Homelander doesn't want to rule the world. He wants the world to clap while he does whatever he wants. Bill Cipher, reality's worst pop-up ad. Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls looks like a floating Dorito with a top hat. This is misleading. Bill's an interdimensional dream demon who exists outside normal space and time. He doesn't invade worlds with armies at first. He invades minds. His preferred strategy is contracts. He offers humans knowledge, power, or shortcuts to their goals, then quietly rewrites the fine print so their souls become collateral. He operates by manipulation, not force. Bill enters dreams, extracts secrets, exploits insecurities, and turns people against each other before anyone realizes they've been recruited. He treats reality like a puzzle box, and humans like disposable tools that came free with it. His real objective is a Weirdmageddon, merging his chaotic dimension with Earth. Once this starts, physics stops being optional and starts being decorative. Gravity reverses, buildings melt, people become furniture. Bill builds an army out of monsters and corrupted citizens while reshaping the town into a psychedelic apocalypse. But conquest isn't the point. Bill doesn't want territory. He wants entropy with style. He psychologically tortures the Pines family by forcing them to confront their deepest fears, twisting relationships, and turning loved ones into threats. Every interaction is framed like a joke, because Bill doesn't just destroy things. He performs while doing it. Even when finally defeated, it takes a memory-erasing sacrifice to trap him, and he still leaves behind implications that parts of him might survive. Because of course they do. Eldritch entities rarely respect restraining orders. Bill Cipher isn't trying to rule the universe. He's trying to redecorate it using Menace's drywall.